I'm Monster the Barber. And when I'm not changing lives, you're watching Sons of UCF live. Go nice. Charge on.
How about that? Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trey Strelko. Welcome into the Sons of UCF Live. Adam, you billed it as Cameo City tonight. Not bad off the top from Monster and JRP.
Yeah, I mean, that was a nice touch by both of those gentlemen to shoot us a video. Looked like a really nice haircut again by Monster, changing lives, and JRP looked fresh for the spring game.
And you're looking a little different yourself.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to get a haircut. Maybe I'll see Monster over the weekend.
Back by popular demand.
Yeah.
Monster the Barber. He was a big hit last week. He's gonna be a regular now, I think. Making cameos this week. We'll see what's in the future.
Well, Adam, you just mentioned it. You're coming to Greater Orlando. You're going to be taking in the spring game Saturday. Head coach Gus Malzahn on his radio program Tuesday night talked about the format for this game, ones versus twos. So that'll tell us a little bit more about the depth chart. 4 12-minute quarters, short halftime, and then most likely a running clock in the second half. And Mike, I'm sure the poll that I asked you used all of your burner accounts to answer the question. How are you feeling about Saturday's spring game? Excited? It's football. 77% of people. I know you voted more than once that you're very excited football on Saturday.
I voted once. I can't tell you how many times Juan Gonzalez voted. I'm not sure of. But I voted once, and I voted for who cares? So obviously not too many times because it was the last place vote there, only 10%.
So you're not jazzed. You're not jazzed about this.
No, I'm not ever excited about a spring game. You just went over the rules. It's ones versus twos. It's a running clock in the second half. Are they allowed to blitz? Are they allowed to tackle? Are the quarterbacks live? It's not real football.
Hopefully they can tackle. That's going to be a problem.
Some tackling. Whether quarterbacks can be tackled, not sure. We'd ask Coach Gus Malzahn since the automobile accident was not at Tuesday's availability. Thursday's practice schedule has been adjusted per a late in the afternoon UCF news release. Now later in the afternoon. These are typically morning sessions, so media availability at 5 o'clock, and then of course spring game Saturday at noon. But what's been good about this is that we're getting opportunities to talk with coaches that in some cases we've never spoken with, or in other cases we haven't seen since Zoom sessions more than a year ago. On Tuesday, we talked with wide receiver coach Grant Hurd. He's new to UCF, and he talked about what he likes about the UCF offense.
I know Coach Malzahn's pass. One thing he can do is he can run the ball. So with that being said, that makes it easier for my guys because we're going to get a bunch of one-on-one opportunities and be able to throw the ball down the field and make explosive plays. And so that's the part that excites me.
So, Adam, what do you expect to see from the running back Saturday? We're going to see much from Isaiah Bowser?
Bowser? I doubt we'll see anything from Bowser. Maybe he'll come out, take the first snap, Drew Holiday style, and get out to the sidelines and call it a day. I don't think we'll see much of Bowser. I think we'll see some heavy run from the other guys, Richardson and Mark Anthony Richards, Anthony Williams. I think we'll see that. I don't expect to see Bowser all that much, if any. If he takes a ceremonial carry, just to say he participated, I think that may be it for his day.
Yeah, can you imagine what would happen if Bowser got hurt during the spring game? We would all lose our minds, and rightfully so. I don't think he should even be out there. And you may not even see guys like O'Keefe and maybe a couple other starters that you already know are penciled in for game number 1.
Well, let's talk about the controversy that's been raging throughout this spring camp. Who do you think is going to emerge a kicker?
I saw the videos that were posted. It looked like Obarski went a perfect 4 for 4 recently. And then the second kicker up only went 2 for 4, but that second kicker was one Garen Boniel. So no Colton Boomer at the latest practice from the video we saw. Don't know if there's an injury there. To your point, Trace, we're not going to hear much about that. So Obarski 4 for 4. Perfect.
Hey. He got another kick. Maybe he'd be 5 for 5. Who knows? Maybe this competition is exactly what he needed. We haven't really had somebody to push him the last couple of years. He's kind of been handed the job. So maybe this year with Boomer coming in, a little pressure, and maybe Obarsi steps it up for a season.
And of course, the other controversy, the talk all spring, the quarterback battle. Adam, again, you're going to be there. What are you looking for? What are you hoping to leave this game with that's going to tell you a little bit more about both JRP and Mikey Keene?
Yeah, I want to see how they handle and command the offense. And the challenge is I don't know how much of that we will see, what'll be scaled back. What Mike and I talked about in the show this week is, you want to see that the offense appears to be crisp. You want to see that they're getting in and out of the huddle correctly, that they're doing some of those little things, that they're not making the little mistakes, that you're seeing the ball go down the field. For Mikey specifically, last year, I think I called the offense on the show constipated. So I want to see, does that open up a little bit more? Is he moving around a little bit? So really, what does Mikey's comfort level look like? And then obviously with Plumlee, does that thing on the right side of his body connecting to his shoulder, does that work appropriately enough to make him a threat for as a quarterback? I guess those are really the two biggest questions.
Again, I think we're going to see a limited playbook, probably a lot of screen passes, a lot of slants. So whoever can not make any mistakes, right? Whoever has the cleanest game, no botched snaps, no fumbles, no interceptions, things like that. That's probably going to be the guy that has the lead going into the fall.
So 3 quarterbacks out at practice on Tuesday, the third being freshman Thomas Castellanos. I'm hearing from some of the shareholders that attended a recent scrimmage that Parker Navarro was injured in a scrimmage. That's why we didn't see him at Tuesday practice. No confirmation from UCF on that. Perhaps there will be a question asked of that Thursday, or we're told possibly Coach Malzahn Saturday following the spring game. One of the people we got to talk to on Tuesday, tell you what, impressive guy. He's 6'10", offensive lineman Ryan Swoboda, towering presence. He really likes doing these media availabilities, though. He was a natural in front of the camera. My question to him, what does he do well? And, of course, what does he want to improve on?
Me? So I think I'm a physical football player. On the field, there are no friends. You know what I mean? Right here, we're cool, but on the field, it's different. So you got to be physical. I think I have a lot of experience pass blocking, footwork, hand speed, and pass pro, stuff like that. So I think I excel in pass blocking. I think run blocking, what I want to learn footwork. I want to learn proper techniques, leverage, stuff like that.
Right here, Mike, you and me, we're good, but not out on that football field. I was a little scared. It's like, okay, right here, we're good, but I don't want to run into Ryan anywhere else.
Yeah,
he doesn't look like your typical offensive lineman.
Yeah, you might want to be careful. Yeah, I think, look, he's got a ton of experience. He played at Virginia, obviously a lot of games under his belt. So this is not his first time, entering into quote unquote battle. I'm curious to see his size. I didn't watch a ton of tape from him, but you would think 6'10", can those guys, especially at tackle, can they bend low to get those guys who are coming around the edge? So I'm curious to see what his pass protection looks like. But big, strong, this is a get off the bus kind of guy, right? This is a guy that the other team goes, oh my goodness, look who they have. So if he has the skills, I think that'd be fantastic. Again, a presence, a veteran, played a lot of games. How does he gel with this offense? How does he do with Herb Handlikes? I don't know that I love that he's like, I got to get better at run blocking. I think maybe that's just him being self-critical, but obviously that's a big part of the game. So, it'd be curious. I think I heard Coach Hand say or Coach Malzahn say we could play 8 guys on the line for 5 spots. So we'll see what that mix looks like. Maybe we'll get some clarity after spring game.
He looked a lot leaner than I expected him to look. He looked like maybe he could be a center for the basketball team. But
we have openings.
Maybe he could be.
We have openings.
Possibly.
We have openings.
But yeah, we want to see. That's one thing you got to look for in the spring game. I know it's hard to kind of figure out what offensive linemen are doing, but you can tell if a guy's getting beat badly, and hopefully that's not the case with him on this weekend.
At Pro Day recently at UCF, I had opportunity to talk with offensive line coach Herb Hand, who mentioned to me the great progress he's seen from another 6'10" guy on the offensive line, Paul Rubelt. And
3 Rubelts, yes.
Yeah, yes. Said that he's really made great strides, and Ryan spoke highly of him as well. So imagine that, 2 6'10" guys rotating in and out of that offensive line. But it does look, as you mentioned, 8 guys there vying for spots, and they're mixing and matching. That's something that Ryan talked about as well, is that he's playing in different combinations of guys. So something else to look for during Saturday's spring game.
Yeah, I think we saw Sam Jackson playing center at parts, right? We've heard of that. We've heard of guys moving around. I think, again, 8 guys for 5 spots. I think it's a good problem to have. And obviously we'll see what that shakes out to be. Frankly, whoever can, really open up run lanes. I think that's obviously UCF's bread and butter. So, what are the 5 best run blockers? But it certainly makes you feel better about if and when we suffer anything from an injury standpoint. Hopefully that means you got some capable guys coming in. I know last year Matt Lee was banged up for a little bit. You saw Cole Schneider move over to center. You saw Medley come in and play some guard. So I think that depth hopefully helps out from that standpoint. But I think Swoboda is an interesting prospect. Again, 6'10". I'm really curious to see him out in the field and see how fast he moves. When you get guys who bend low like a Tremont Morris Brash, can they get the edge and get over? I guess under maybe is the way to phrase it under him. I think I'll be curious to see.
It's almost impossible to have the same starting 5 every game for a whole season. When that happens maybe once every 10 years, if it does happen, that means we've gotten pretty lucky, and usually you end up with a pretty good season if that happens. But don't expect it. So these guys are going to have to know how to play different positions. I think that's a good thing.
What are you guys looking for from the defense in this one?
I think to Mike's point, what are they able to do, right? I mean, I want to see, can someone get pressure on the quarterback? I don't want to see a massive injury, but we've kind of wondered aloud. I think Josh Elliscar, I think Mike agrees, and I think you said the same, Trace. I think Josh Elliscar is primed for maybe a breakout year. So can he get pressure on the quarterback? Tremont Morris Brash, what version of him do we see? He's had flashes where he's been almost unblockable. Does that same thing come back? We've heard a lot about Lee Hunter, but he's still raw. Ricky Barber didn't play a ton. So really that front 4, how much pressure can they get on the quarterback? Are we going to be able to at least disrupt the pocket? I understand the spring game, you might not see a lot of that, but I think for me, that's the biggest question, at least that I want to figure out is who our front 4 are, how physical are they? And also it'll be a good test for the offensive line. I'd love to see those 2 units go against each other, figure out where we're more physical. Football is not a game that, is really surprising. You win the point of attack, you typically win the game. Curious to see on which side of the ball, how we're doing on both sides from that attack perspective.
Defensively, I want to see some clean, fundamental tackling. No missed tackles. And we got a lot of guys that could be some big trouble out in space. Johnny Richardson, O'Keefe, those guys. These guys kind of know what's coming. I don't think Gus is pulling out too many tricks. So fundamental, get everybody on the ground and don't get anybody hurt.
Yeah, you keep saying that. Don't get anybody hurt. T. Will has been talking throughout spring camp of wanting to hear more communication, more chatter from his guys, and you're looking to see leaders emerge. That's something else here. We spoke with Corey Thornton this week. He's a quieter guy. I don't know how he is out on that football field. Just know him at the mic, and he's a quieter guy. And T. Will's been talking about it, especially a week ago following a scrimmage, that he just didn't feel the communication was up to the standard that he was looking for. So that's something to look for. See if some leaders emerge on that defense as well.
Yeah, Mike and I talk about it all the time. Every year, it feels like we had that guy, right? And it was always, to me, it was always a linebacker or D lineman. It was Shaquem. It was Titus Davis. You always had that player, that guy that kind of, led the charge for everybody. So who's going to be that player this year? Devod Wilson is a guy that definitely is a guy. He's a guy. He's not shy about talking. He's not shy about, voicing his opinion. So does he step up and take that leadership role? One of the guys up front kind of step in that leadership role. We got some transfers. Katie McDaniel from Kentucky. He's still new. Does he kind of emerge into that role? But I think JJB, Jeremiah John Baptiste, he's a name that you're hearing every practice. Every time they ask about the defense, somebody is raving about how well he's playing. So, we haven't heard a lot from him, Trace. I know you talked to him last year, I think at preseason media. We didn't really hear from him much in the year. So is he a vocal leader? Can he be that guy? But I think on the field right now, that's the name you're hearing a bunch about, the guy that's most impressive. T. Will went out of his way to basically praise JJB as a guy who's making every play, who's leading our defense. Maybe a bit of a shade throw at Tatum Bethune, who knows? But he's definitely a name you hear a bunch.
Yeah, defensive leader doesn't have to be a rah-rah guy necessarily, but they got to be the guy that everybody looks to when it's time to make the calls. The communication has to be strong, changing the audibles and all that stuff. But usually it's the linebacker, so that's why you usually follow that way. But I think a leader by example is stronger than just a guy that's trying to motivate everybody before the games and just hold the other teammates accountable.
Well, let's dig into the spring game coming up Saturday at noon with our guy. He's back, former UCF quarterback Nick Patty. Nick, good to have you back on the Sons of UCF Live.
It's good to be here.
All right, so no injuries. That's goal one, right? No injuries. But can guys win jobs on Saturday?
I think so. I certainly think that you can put yourself in a better position to win a job come fall camp Saturday. I think the good thing about it is you can't necessarily lose the job. You'll have another opportunity. It's really hard. I think people think everyone's getting, all these reps, and spring is, ample time for everybody, but it really does get, I don't know, watered down a little bit. I mean, there's a pressure to get things tighten down reps. So I think it's a great opportunity. There's not a more careless time for coaches, I guess, right? It doesn't mean anything. So there's really true evaluation happening. They can be a little more careless with play calling and install, stuff like that. So it's a cool time.
All right, Nick, since you've last been on with us, we have transitioned to hot takes only around here. So here is my scorching hot question for you. This is a true or false question. True or false? Gus Malzahn knows who his quarterback is. He's just not going to tell us right now. True or false?
False. False. Yeah, that's a good one, though. That's a good take. The only reason I say false is because I feel like I feel like I know where you're going with that. If he could surprise us, but I think he could surprise us in multiple ways, right? I think I don't think there's anybody that's obvious. And if you argue Mikey because he was the guy last year, maybe, but I don't even think he's the obvious pick. But I don't know. I think it seems to be like he needs to see a little bit more. And I think him and Chip getting a little more comfortable again, and seeing what they got, what they're working with, some of these transfers, exactly what they have on offense, not just a quarterback, but everywhere else. I think that they're going to get creative and really think through exactly the guy they're looking for. Because I really don't think they have the offense. He's got his system in mind, but I do think that Chip's going to have a little bit more say in I don't know, a little bit of the install and maybe take them in a bit different direction with all these transfers and some serious talent coming back. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
They announced the format of the spring game, and they said there was going to be ones versus twos. What is the benefit of that? Don't you think it'd be better to see the ones versus the ones? Are they just trying to build confidence in the starters? Or what do you think the reasoning is for the ones versus twos?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think that can mean probably a ton of different things. There is a lot of hidden messages and some of that stuff, I think, sometimes with coaches. If they're going to post a depth chart, maybe trying to motivate some guys that are twos that want to be ones, et cetera. Can't field two whole teams with ones and twos, right? So there are some guys that are going to be carryovers, and there's some threes and fours mixed in there too, right? So I don't know. I try not to read too far into it because I think that some of that stuff is smoke and mirrors. One, for fans and critics, and two, for the players. They use that, I think, to motivate and evaluate a little bit more. So who knows?
Coach Malzahn is pretty upfront at the outset of spring, saying that Isaiah Bowser would have a lighter touch, Ryan O'Keefe as well. What do you think about that as a guy that was in a locker room, seeing that maybe the stars get a little bit lighter treatment during spring practice?
Yeah, I was always okay with it. More than okay with it. I think it's necessary. I think Coach Malzahn's narrative of treating Bowser like a pro is exactly what I always thought was necessary as a player, and even more so now after the fact. I think you have an appreciation for certain guys that carry the load throughout the year, right? And you know that as a player. You see them in the locker room, you see them in the training room. You know what they're going through physically. So I really, you spend so much time together on a team. So I think that, I'm not in the locker room. I'm not sure exactly how they feel about those guys, but I would assume that they understand the payload. They know he's going to show up. They know the toll that it takes on his body, and they know they need him, right? They know his talent. And I think you find that narrative of like whatever it takes for that guy to be able to play for us because he's so talented. That's where I found myself sitting.
Nick, as a player, are there unwritten rules for how you play the spring game? And what are those rules? Are you trying not to hit too hard? Are you trying not to embarrass a teammate? As a player, is there code? Are there unwritten rules for what you want to do in a game like this?
Yeah, someone said it earlier. Rule number one, just don't do anything that can hurt me or hurt yourself, right? I think that's the one thing. No cheap shots. There's always the argument, especially from a quarterback's perspective, that everybody gets mad at the quarterbacks because you throw balls in places that they can't hit guys, and you're running around and they can't tackle you sometimes. But I think that's the one thing. You just don't want to get hurt, right? And you don't want to do anything stupid. you're trying to win jobs and you're trying to play hard, but at the same time, everyone's trying to get better. You're trying to give people looks and you're trying to showcase your talent, but all, within the program, within the system. So that would be the one thing that sticks out. Don't do anything stupid to get me hurt.
You mentioned QBs really quickly. Do you want to see the QBs live in this? What's the advantage or disadvantage to the QBs being live in a spring game like this?
I think there's an advantage because of the mobility aspect, right? Certainly, I think we're deep enough at quarterback to be able to maybe take an injury or two. I think from the mobility aspect of the offense, it would be nice to see these guys really operate within a system where they could get hit. But at the same token, I think it's somewhat foolish to let certain guys that are trying to prove themselves and want a job pin their ears back on your own guy, right? Especially you've got some younger, inexperienced guys that in protections aren't as dialed in, not just a quarterback, but O-line, because everybody's getting reps, right? And so I hate to say it could be dangerous back there, but you can make those guys live, and it's really not the same look. It's a lot easier on a defensive lineman than it is on the freshman right tackle or the freshman quarterback to slide the protection, et cetera. So, certainly not at a disadvantage, but I always liked, making those guys, kind of tag off, let them, play a little bit, but also letting everybody else, get full reps, because it can get a little sloppy out there in spring if quarterbacks are just getting sacked the whole time.
Obviously, everybody's eyes are on the quarterback, but what other position battles are you looking forward to on Saturday?
Yeah, I think I think the linebacker position I'm most excited to see kind of develop. Our edge players on defense, it's something we talked about a lot last year. Just being able to kind of create some pressure, create some havoc, run sideline to sideline. I think it's something. It's a position that there's a lot of energy, a lot of buzz around, especially with T-Will. I think that's kind of his. It seems like the energy on the defense is his bread and butter. I didn't really see that last year. So I'd like to see them kind of on the whole defensive side of the ball, get a little meaner, get a little swag about themselves, have a little bit of juice. Because I think maybe create a little bit of more of an identity on defense. Because I think we lacked that last year. And the whole team feeds off of that, especially if we've got a younger quarterback this year. We're really going to need to lean on the defense to create some turnovers, have a little energy, get a little juice. So more so than anything, position battles, I'd really like to see the defense fly around, which they always will, because spring's always an advantage for the defense.
Tuesday, we spoke with 6'10" offensive lineman Ryan Swoboda. Of course, there's also 6'10" Paul Rubel. What's the biggest offensive lineman you played with, and what do you think about having two guys rotating in and out of that size?
I think it's awesome. I mean, shoot, for me as a little short guy, it was never fun. But you got to find windows anyway, right? But no one standing, even 6'5" guys, they're taller than, so it doesn't matter. But I think the tallest one that I played with was 6'9" out west. But it's I think it's awesome. The more size we can have, the better. There's a little bit of a trade-off there with the way that our style of offense runs, right? So they got to be mobile. They got to be able to be in good shape. But at the same token, they like to do some really cool creative packages with, tackle over stuff, and just having in the run game. I think it's huge, because you can really, create some advantages for yourself on one side of the ball or the next. So I think it's great. I think it's going to really behoove us when we go to the Big 12 and need to match up size for size with people. So I hope that trend continues.
Realistically, Nick, when do you think Gus Malzahn has to name a starting quarterback? And I take that from the perspective of receivers have to get used to a quarterback, line has to get used to a cadence. Is there a date in your mind where you say, for this to really work effectively, really Gus needs to name a starting QB by X date?
I think going into fall camp, they really need to have their guy. I know that's a long time for everybody to wait. I think there's, at what we want to accomplish this year and years to come, we can't have a battle going into camp. I really think we're all going to think that he hasn't named a guy, but they have their way of naming guys and naming starters before they truly name them in the media or even tell you as the starter, right? You just start taking more reps of the ones. They control the whole flow of who's running with who and who's the starter right now, right? So they start to change things at practice. They start to have just you run with the ones, right? And they haven't named you a starter, and they still tell you the same stuff of we're evaluating and we're doing this and doing that. But they've named their guy, they've picked their guy. So I think they'll have a really good idea coming out of spring. But I'd say going into camp, for the narrative of the team, they should have somebody named for them to be able to get behind somebody.
We have a lot of fun making fun of the Cows out west. But a couple weeks ago when they had their spring game, they did an alumni game at halftime. I'm not saying to do a game, but Adam and I have always had the idea of bringing back former players, especially quarterbacks, and doing like a quarterback challenge drill. Would you be interested in doing some of that? And what events do you think you could win?
Yeah, I'd love to, man. I have a personal rule this phase of my life that the only sport that I play is golf, just from an injury perspective. No kickball or flag football or anything like that. No Achilles injuries happening for me, but I'd love to go up with some target practice with Blake and Holman and Kyle Israel and those dudes. That'd be a ton of fun. Maybe Culpepper would come out too. So, man, that'd be a ton of fun. But yeah, no overexertion of physical activity. Those days are done for me.
What's your strongest event? Is it the moving target? Is it the scramble drill or deep pass?
Drop in the bucket. You sound like a drop in the bucket guy, Nick.
Yeah, throwing was always a strong suit for me. Dropping the bucket was always strong. I had a couple Golden Gun Awards at Elite 11 throughout the years with target practice on the run. So, yeah, that'd be a fun trip down memory lane. Haven't spun it in a while, but I guess I could take out the old ball and be ready.
Spoiler alert, Mike, this idea, it may not take off. You may get some of these guys to a golf course with you, but as we heard you on the show this week say that you've watched maybe 20 minutes of golf over 20 years. I don't see this happening.
40 years.
There's a reason that the alumni event is a golf tournament.
and not a football skills challenge. Nick, let's wrap up with this. We saw some incoming freshmen on the field. Thomas Castellanos getting meaningful reps. You see the return of guys like Sam Jackson, Alex Ward with that COVID year. What are the advantages to these guys being there in spring camp and being back for another year? And what's the disadvantage for a guy who didn't play this spring going into fall camp?
Yeah, I think huge advantage for like Thomas Castellano to be getting reps with ones and the older guys, and whether you call them ones or vets, whatever it is, because it's a much cleaner look, right? So I think huge advantage for him, as many of those as he can get. I know I've heard Gus say a couple of times that by design they want him with the younger guys that are just there, and it's just naturally sloppier, right? They just don't have as much experience, and it's no fault on them, but naturally sloppier. So I think sometimes coaches put people in that position to see how they operate. And I really do think that's an effective way, but you really see sort of the skill set come out when you're with the ones and you're with the older guys and you've got a little bit of help. You've got the running backs that can help you in protections in the center, and you've got receivers that run the right routes. The defense looks a little cleaner because they're in the right spot. I think it's a huge advantage. Some of the older guys that maybe sat spring out, I go back and forth on that. From a health perspective, I think one way, from a reps perspective I know this is not Gus's first year anymore, and we know the offense and all that, but it's still a new system. These guys don't have a whole career in this system. So reps are positive, especially when you don't have a trigger man yet. So I'd like to see everybody getting as many reps as physically possible without, hurting themselves and getting some rest. But you got plenty of time to rest before the season starts. So, I'm a fan of people getting reps and getting in shape and getting comfortable with some new transfers, right? That's a whole new dynamic to the new season. People that are veteran guys but transferred in. So that's sort of my take on it.
Well, Nick, it's been good to have you back in this space on the Sons of UCF Live. Now we'll give you a couple of months to get ready for fall season. Get those reps in come fall. You rejoin us to break down games every week, I hope.
Absolutely. Love to be back.
All right, Nick Patty. Thank you. Good seeing you again, Nick. All right, the insights of one Nick Patty. So spring game, we're going to get some questions about it coming up in the mailbag, so we'll have an opportunity to talk more. You guys were great on the podcast this week, talking about players to look for and your surprises on offense and defense. And now you'll be able to grade those on the next show and see who emerged there. Coming up, a lot at UCF this weekend. 20th ranked or top 20, depending on the poll you look at, but certainly 20th, no less than 20th ranked softball Knights. 34-10 overall, 6-0 in the AAC. They welcome in ECU. The game's moved up to Thursday, Friday, Saturday because of the Easter holiday on Sunday. Adam, if you make it out there, Jada Cody is the one to watch. NCAA leading, 56 RBI. She's chasing Stephanie Best, who has 66. I'm not saying she's going to get those 10 during this series, but you think that 2003 record may fall. And I know on your show this week, you were debating softball or baseball. Baseball also playing ECU. And that caught the ear of the voice of UCF softball, Eric Lopez, who wanted to weigh in and try and sway you.
Gentlemen, I wanted to pop in for you, Adam. I have an invite for you. I heard you on the podcast with Mike talking about your dilemma after the spring game. What do? Do you go to baseball? Do you go to softball? I heard your kid, smart kids, they're watching Alabama, Florida softball over the Masters. I don't blame them. But, so here's my pitch. Football spring game ends. You go over to left field at softball at the Plex. Trace knows where it is. He was there when he was earlier this year when he did his walk and talk. You say my name, you get free food, free drinks at the left field lounge. That's what they do. They camp out there. They're tailgating there every Saturday. Sometimes they even put the broadcast on there at left field. The kids can run around. It's a nice day. Watch a little softball. Knights are ranked in the top 20 in the country, trying to make a push for a conference championship, trying to make a pitch for a hosting. Does it get any better than that? Plus, I think it's 2000s Day there. There's going to be good music there. Maybe there might be even an Easter egg hunt afterwards for the kids. That's my pitch. I dare Steven Branca to top that, Adam. He ain't going to top that. Plus, we're both fellow Heat fans. It's playoffs time. The Heat are top seed. A Heat fan takes care of another Heat fan. There's my pitch.
Laid it out. The free food, though, I got to say, of all the things, egg hunt notwithstanding, getting perhaps to meet Elo, also a part of the mix, but the free food out in the outfield.
Well, so then Cossack Advisor, with an alternate theory here, he's been there before, never got free food. So that's an important element here.
Eric Lopez's name, though. Did he say Eric Lopez sent me for the free food?
Here's what I did not hear in that pitch. He did not invite me into the booth to call an inning with him.
No, he did not.
Nothing about take me out to the ball game. Nothing about throwing the first pitch.
None of those things.
Now, a free booze, I mean, that could even out, but Cossack Advisors leading me to believe that maybe that's not on the up and up. So I know Steven Branca is here, and baseball's an option as well. So he may have a pitch that can matter. That he did not drop Elo's name, so maybe there's still hope there, but I doubt it. So
that may be
I'm on the fence. I'm not swayed yet. Not swayed. Thanks for the video, though, Eric. Not swayed.
You mentioned baseball. They beat Jacksonville up in your neck of the woods, Adam, 6-1 on Tuesday. They welcome in ECU Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Again, moved up because of Easter. Knights 21-12. More importantly, 5-1 in the AAC. Let's welcome in the voice color commentary at ESPN Plus, Steven Branca. Steven, I don't know if you heard Elo there, the voice of UCF softball, mentioning free food. Adam, coming to the game, trying to weigh between baseball or softball. What's your pitch? What do you got?
Well, here's the deal. I'm not going to offer free food or anything like that. I can get you into the booth. And, Eric DeSalvo sings Take Me Out to the Ball Game, 7th inning stretch style every now and then. I'm not sure why we can't get you to do that. And if you happen to mosey on up into the club and get you some free food and maybe a drink while you're there, don't drop my name. Don't drop my name, please. But if you happen to do that, I mean, that's, I think we could make something happen. I mean, I'm not either way. You want to go to either sport, support either one, do your thing. But I kind of want to hear your voice. But I mean, that's just me being selfish.
And Adam, really with the way softball 7 innings goes about 2 hours, you can really go to both. You'll be able to get to the later half of baseball, especially if you have a 50-minute first inning like they did against Memphis. Steven, let's go back here. Question from at B_Brando. Can we get a breakdown of the Lovelady ejection at Memphis? What did you make of all that? This went viral, more than 1 million views of that clip. What did you make of all of this?
Yeah, so I'm sitting here watching this game. And I see the home run, and I got a fist pump coming in here and there, and I'm excited. And then I see them looking at the bat, and I'm like, all right,
it's got to be this whole sticker thing. They do the bat test and they put these stickers on there. Well, they put the stickers on Friday and they don't check them the rest of the week. Really, I mean, they're not putting a new one on there. So if a guy is putting pine tar on his bat and he's gripping that pine tar and whatnot, they can come off. So I thought it was a sticker deal at first, and I'm like, it's pretty ridiculous on a Sunday for that to happen. And then next thing you know, I see them lining the bat up on home plate, George Brett style. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. They're going to try to call a pine tar rule here, which I know it's just a warning. I know this rule. The problem is the umpires didn't know the rule. So Schoenrock from Memphis tries to call them out on too much pine tar to see if he can get them thrown out of the game, bat thrown out of the game, or an out somewhere, get something out of the deal. And the umpires don't know the rules, so they say, yeah, he's out. Call it an F7. Fly out to left field. And so Lovelady goes out there, and he's just trying to talk to him and figure out, all right, where'd this come from? There's no way you guys are trying to call this. And in the process says, okay, well, we want to protest this because I want you to know what the rule actually is. So he protests the game. But in the meantime, he's sitting there talking to the home plate umpire, and the question comes up, hey, where did this come from? Well, it came from their dugout, came from their coach. So that's when Lovelady loses his mind, calling it Bush League, that they're going over into the umpire trying to get him thrown out of the game and calling him on something that's really never even an option to talk about. Like, it doesn't help you. It's not something that you'd ever bring up. It's kind of a Bush League thing to do. And so that's when he lost his mind. I mean, to put it as exactly how it was, he lost his mind. It was a savvy veteran move for him to say something to the pitcher on his way through too, to get him thrown out in the process, which was very impressive. But and then eventually they come back out after 45 minutes of probably about 5 minutes reading the rule book, 40 minutes of how are we going to explain that we were wrong and didn't know the rule. They come back out and call it a home run. So 2 ejections in the process of just one mistake of not knowing what the rules are. Basically what happened.
I like that Coach went out to the outfield and sat on the bus as this was all going on. I like that. By the way, George Brett commented on the video saying that he had more purpose in his run out to challenge this than Coach Lovelady showed. Of course, Coach trying to figure out what was going on early, and then, of course, got colorful. So, but Knights win 2 out of 3 at Memphis and are 5-1 overall now in the AAC. And they welcome in a familiar foe, ECU.
Yep. Yeah, so they got ECU, who was, I think, the best team in the conference last year. And then they've lost a couple guys. They got 3 guys in their order from last year that are no longer there, that were huge bats. A couple of their weekend guys are not throwing right now. One of them, I think, is suspended. And so it's a totally different team. But one thing you're going to get from this team that's led by Cliff Godwin and Jeff Palumbo, the 2 guys that I actually played for at UCF, that are very, very good coaches, and they're going to be fighters. They are going to compete every pitch. So no matter if they have the same talent from last year or not, they're not a team that you could sit there and sleep on. They're a very, very good team. They're very well coached. They got some good athletes. They got some good ball players. But right now, the way UCF has played, I mean, they're a very good team as well. To take 2 out of 3 on the road against a Memphis team that's had its ups and downs, they got some good players. But if you ask Coach Lovelady, taking 2 out of 3 on the road against anybody, I mean, he'll take that any weekend, because it's not easy to do. But this should be a good weekend.
Lost on that whole, debacle with the bat, Stephen, was Andrew Sundin is quietly putting on a really nice performance. He's had a hit in his last 10 games. What have you seen from him? What do you like what his approach at the plate has been these days?
He's got a really, really good swing. If you watch his swing mechanically, he's on plane for a long time. His bat is in the zone for a long time, and it's a good swing. I think it was kind of funny because Mark and I were talking, Mark Daniels and I, and we're like, all right, this is a freshman that just doesn't know any better. And he's, he happens to be 5 for 10. So he's hitting his 500 or whatever it was, right? He just doesn't know any better. And then Mark and I, every time there's a game going on, we're either looking at each other or we're texting each other. We're like, okay, this is not a fluke anymore. This kid can really play. Like, this kid is the real deal. And we're excited about the fact that at some point, a freshman who's 6'5" is going to fill out, because he looks like Gumby right about now. He's about 200 pounds maybe, So once he fills out of that 6'5", 225 form that he has that he could build on, the sky's the limit for this kid at this point. I mean, he's shown power. He's shown gap to gap. He's shown pretty well behind the plate defensively too. I mean, he's got a good arm. He has come out of nowhere, and I think he's got to be the most pleasant surprise for this Knights team.
Another thing I love about him, only 4 strikeouts on the season so far.
That's
Puts the ball in
absurd.
play.
I mean, especially for a freshman. You never see freshmen that come in and they're not striking out. And if they are, they're the guy that's just trying to put the ball in play, and they're not swinging hard, hitting doubles, hitting home runs like he's been doing. So it's very impressive what he's done.
Another guy that was on fire in Memphis, Alex Freeland. A couple of homers, 10 RBIs or something over the weekend. This all goes back to that day off against FAU, right? We can all owe it to that day.
I think it just goes back to what I've said since the first time I ever saw this kid play. He, talent-wise, might be the best player to ever play at UCF. You know, his numbers might not show it in some of the, the amount of games that he's going to play. It's going to wear on his body as a shortstop. The switch hitting stuff, I mean, that weighs on you a little bit because he is better from the left side, even though his 2 home runs were from the right side this past weekend. But he's that guy. He is just a very, very talented player. I mean, he's a once-in-a-lifetime type of talent that you get on your team, that switch hitting shortstop that you're going to see drafted top 5 rounds. If I had to guess, he's that type of guy. And he, it's only a matter of time before he blows up. He's just that type of player.
Knights might have had opportunity to sweep this if not for pitcher Connor Stain going out early in that first game. Do you know anything more about him, and how do you see this pitching staff shaking out now?
Yeah, so I heard it was a tailbone, and when I heard that, I was like, wait a second, what? A tailbone? I guess he had slipped or something like that, or he had a bruise. I don't know the whole details behind it, but what I do know is he's going to be fine and he's going to pitch. Whether it's this weekend, I don't know what day this weekend. I assume he's pitching this weekend. But some people will switch around the rotation with these Thursday, Friday, Saturday games when it's moved up like this. Some people keep the Friday guy in the Friday slot, move somebody up to the Thursday or whatnot. So it will be interesting to see how that plays out. I do think we're going to see, and this is just my opinion, I think we're going to see Litchfield move back to the bullpen at some point. The starter role has not really worked out recently. Played out pretty well early, and it's just I think it's just weighing on him now. I think he's that guy that does a really great job either one time through the order or to get you 3 to 6 outs like he used to do out of the bullpen. And that's something that they need as well, is that shutdown guy, either bridge innings or late in the game. So I think you're going to see Hunter Pattison come back in the next week or so as well. So if they can get guys like Cameron Crane throwing the way that he threw last night, and some of these other guys that have filled in, I think they're going to be okay.
You think this is Saxton to move into the rotation, or you think Coach Lovelady's still deciding that?
It's got to be up for conversation still, right? He has shown spurts of a guy that's really, really good. I don't know with the walks. I can't, especially being a guy that played defense. Like, I'm standing behind a guy and you're going to walk like 4 guys every 2 innings. I'm twiddling my thumbs out here. It's really hard to be a part of sometimes. It will lull your defense to sleep. But he's had those outings where, here's 1 walk and 7 Ks. And you're like, okay, this is a whole new guy. Where'd this come from? And so I think they're still trying to figure out what they have with him. The problem with starting a guy like that is if you're banking on him to eat up 4 or 5 innings for you, and he only does eat up that 1 or 2, I mean, you're in deep trouble. I mean, it's going to eat up your bullpen for the weekend. So it is up for conversation. He has had those spurts where he's been really, really good. He has had those spurts where, I mean, you don't know where the command is going to be. But it's a guy that I think maybe the back end of the weekend, so this weekend would be a Saturday, usually be a Sunday type of deal, try to fit him in. That way you kind of know where your pitching stands at that point.
All right, Adam, you got a choice now. Possibly name-dropping Elo for maybe free food at softball, or you get to meet Steven in person, hang out in the press box a little bit, maybe sing the 7th thing. Are you still thinking, or where are you going?
I heard free drinks, so I'm still debating that one side of it. Steven also said I could mosey. I'm a good mosier, so I think I could
Right.
mosey with the best of them.
But this is the other thing is if you do come into the press box, I could get you a slice of Papa John's and at least a Coke, Diet Coke, or a water. I mean, that is to my disposal that I can share with you at that point.
Wow.
So I have a guarantee where Elo does not have that guarantee. He wanted me to match me. He called me out on being able to match you, and I just did. Let's just throw that out.
Boom! Mic drop.
I think we got a TKO right here. Yeah, sorry, Elo.
Stephen, have a good rest of your weekend, good shows, and let's win this series against ECU.
Thanks, guys. Happy Easter.
All right,
Thanks,
you
dude.
as well.
Thanks.
All right, Adam, got some choices there. Again, you really could do both. You go from the spring game over to softball, name drop, see where that gets you, and then mosey over to baseball. It seems like a plan.
Yeah,
Elo didn't seem like he wants you anywhere near him. He said stay in the outfield behind the fence.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Mike is inviting you into the booth. That's a little bit.
Now, so Brenka is, but there's other people in that booth. I'm not so sure would want me in there. So that's the other issue.
You do need a pass to get up the stairs to there.
Yes.
That's if the attendant looks. They don't often look. But
I've got all these Yeti mugs I can bring by. I got bribery material if needed. We're good.
Yeah, to the people frustrated that the Yeti mugs have not been given out yet, 450 subscribers on YouTube. We keep climbing, but that's the number before we start giving out the mugs. All right. Do you have the mailbag music? Did we talk about this? We talked about it in the post show that ran on Instagram. Do we have some music?
I can do some music here. I think we decided what we want to rock. Is that what we decided?
Yes. Rock.
All right, let's go rock. We got some mailbag music now. Sounds a lot familiar like another podcast opening, but either way, let's just roll with it, Trace.
Well, we got some walk and talks we can share with folks, so let's fire up
turn the
one of
music
those.
down for that, because I'm not sure you're going to hear those as loud. So let's start with our good friend Robert. Mike, this one, the question neither of you two will be able to answer, and that's fine. This is really just for the accessories involved. Mike, pay close attention.
Hey, sons of UCF, 2 letters, 2 words here. I'm across the street from the National U.S. Soccer Hall of Fame, and it brought up a question for me. Since the Big 12 doesn't sponsor men's soccer, and we might want to compete in more events, from a perspective of cost standpoint, what's the most cost-effective sport to add that the Big 12 sponsors? Looking forward to your answer, but for now, I'm going to go check out the Hall of Fame.
The front and the back. Nicely done, Robert.
That is a Keen Kong shirt, Mike. You two will not know the answer. I looked it up. Wrestling and swimming and diving are probably the 2 sports that I would recommend.
Yeah, I guess the big question is where does men's soccer go? Still to be determined, but I don't see UCF adding any sports.
The bigger question is how do we get Mike a Keen Kong shirt, I think is what we need to adjudicate here.
I need that, and I need 30-40% of the proceeds. I mean, I came up with the King Kong idea.
Oh, JP Gilbert.
Did you trademark it? And did you check with Mikey Keene and his NIL deal to see if you can, in fact, use his name in any form of fashion? What else we got? We got any more walk and talks?
We got one more walk and talk. Here we go. A first timer, but kind of a first timer.
Hey, sons of UCF. I'm out here at the Plex for the UCF softball game against Memphis, and my question is, if you could meet any UCF athlete, past, present, or future recruits, who would it be? As always, go Knights and charge on.
It's Gianna, so nervous, messaging me. She's so nervous. She did great. Come on, she did great. And a good question as well.
Great.
It was what meet a
you're so good you don't know what it is.
Or past. No, I'm just going over a question again. Former, present, or future athlete. Yes. I would love the ultimate interview, one-on-one with Dante Culpepper. So that would be who I would want to talk to.
Dante, the white whale of interviews. A couple names I wrote down. I would love to meet the late, great Gene McDowell. Again, one of the founding fathers of UCF football, somebody who kept the program alive. And I also wrote down Michelle Akers. How many gold medalists running around that have UCF ties? So I'll go Michelle Akers.
Previous guest. Correct.
Plugged.
That's right. I was going to say, did you forget that we did speak to her for about an hour? we didn't meet her in person. But, another name, too, that we haven't been able to get that we've tried for a few years, Taco Fall. That'd be a nice one. I've never met him. Everybody raves about how nice of a guy he is.
I could have sworn you were going to go LD Crow on that one. Okay.
That's Taco would be interesting because long form interviews like you all do. I've not heard him speak for a long time, and he's certainly, having played soccer before the growth spurt, there's a lot to his backstory that's interesting that you guys could flesh out. What else we got? We got any more walk and talks?
We got one more submission, and it's interesting. It's got some news in it, I guess. I'll play it for the group and see what you guys all think.
Hey guys, this is Mike Hoffman from Gordon and Partners. I got a question for you today. Out here from Las Vegas. I've been wondering, you guys want to partner up and take Sons of UCF to the next level and take my firm Gordon and Partners to the next level as well? Let me know. Go Knights. Charge on.
Is this up for debate? Is it a poll question,
No,
Adam, or is the ink drying on the contract?
The ink is dry in the contract. Happy to announce that we have we're going to partner with Gordon and Partners, which Michael Hoffman, a UCF alum, is a member of the firm, and they've been nice enough to throw their support behind the show and help us continue to grow the brand. So the Sons UCF now brought to you by Gordon and Partners. And while this may seem like a money grab in some respects, and probably it is a little bit, here's the thing that's really cool about this. And I know that Trace and Mike agree to this. Michael Hoffman is a UCF alum. I mean, this guy dies and bleeds UCF. I mean, he's all UCF all the time. And I think for us, it's really cool to partner with somebody who cares about UCF as much as we do, who is invested in UCF and not just somebody who wants to sponsor a show. So it's more of a partnership. And Michael and his firm are firmly behind our show, which is fantastic. He's a UCF alum. He's somebody who cares about the program. So it's a really cool connection. Super glad to have Gordon and Partners on board. You'll hear more about some stuff we're going to do. We got a few things planned here and there, but once I officially announce it, welcome Gordon and Partners to the Sons of UCF family. Best of luck to you on that one. But no, we're really excited to be involved with them.
What a guy, this Michael Hoffman. I met him actually once on a cruise. He knew who I was. It was my first time I was spotted.
Here we go again with
the story. Yeah, this story comes up a lot.
And he's a fan of the show. That's what we really wanted, is somebody that not only is a fan of UCF, but somebody that's wanted to support us. And we got finally somebody here to throw us some money. Now we're making some bucks on this deal. But more importantly, he's helping out the show and helping us grow it and making it better so we can keep improving every week.
I don't really know the dollar value of this, and I'm sure we're going to reinvest in promoting the show, but I did like that Mike said that he plans to add 10 to 12 people to the payroll during this week's podcast.
Yes, yeah.
If, in fact, you only add one person to the payroll, I might make a recommendation. But if, in fact, there's ample funds...
Let's bring the music back, Trace. It's getting on. Bring the music back. Here we go.
Good stuff. Welcome. And we appreciate, Michael. It's always good to partner with fellow alums that care about UCF. So welcome, and I'm looking forward to how we will integrate him. Does this mean that if we need legal advice or services that Michael and his team will be there for us? Should we run?
Yeah. Funny.
Does he handle trespassing on college campuses? Is there anything that he might handle about that? I wonder.
If I were you, I'd worry more about that mustache and what charges you may get from that than trespassing, Trace. Jeez.
No, I did a quick Insta poll on my Twitter @SignPez. 5446 say I'm rocking it and keep it. So we'll see. It's something to do for today. At Mary Ashbaugh 6, what happened? Darren Green Jr. leaving. It seemed he wasn't going anywhere. So he said just a couple of weeks ago during a mission control event. What are you guys thinking about that? Let me throw out, though, before we talk about that catch the Orlando Sentinel online or in print. Matt and Michelle talking with Athletic Director Terry Mohajer. Matt asking about Johnny Dawkins. I know this will just delight Mike. Quote, Johnny keeps having winning seasons. They beat two teams in the Sweet 16, had some injuries at the end of the year. We're excited for Johnny and the future of the program. There's nobody that knows basketball better than Johnny. He goes on, we're going to support and believe in him. So for you Johnny Dawkins haters, Timo behind JD.
Well, I don't think he's going to say anything but that right now. I mean, obviously, we've discussed that Johnny's not going anywhere probably for at least another year. So, I mean, there's no point in coming out and saying the things that maybe I would say. But, it is what it is out of Terry Mohajer right now.
Adam, Darren Green, what do we got? 4 guys left that we could play 3-on-4 here.
Yeah, and Ryan Swoboda may be coming over. I don't know why anybody is surprised with this. It pains me to say this, but put yourself in Darren Green's shoes. Since he announced he's staying, he's seen a bunch of folks on the team leave the program. He's got 1 year left. He wants to try to make it to the league. UCF's clearly going to be in a pretty weird space next year basketball-wise. He's got a chance to go someplace, put some film on tape, win some games, maybe get to a postseason. As much as I think he wanted to stay initially, things change, and as much as it pains me to say this, I'm not surprised by this. I don't think he sees the future right now. He's only got 1 year left. We're looking at a maybe 1-2 season sort of reboot, refresh here. He doesn't have time for that. So it sucks that he's gone, but it wasn't surprising when I saw it come across.
At Spursy night, 3 predictions for the spring game, 1 each. I'm going to go with the safest one possible. The quarterback discussion will not die down after Saturday's spring game. It'll give us plenty of fodder to discuss all summer long.
I have 3 quick ones. We will not miss any kicks. There will be a trick pass play, and there'll be something creative with names on jerseys.
Gus will not be sitting at a tabletop calling the plays. He'll be on the field.
That one seems safe. At Armored_Up, does Isaiah Bowser have any shot at winning a postseason award? Heisman, Doak Walker, AAC Player of the Year. I don't think the first 2. But perhaps something in the AAC. My biggest wish for him is good health and that he be there for the Knights all season long.
Yeah, I think AAC is an option. He'd have to have a spectacular season. UCF would have to be, a undefeated, maybe 1-loss team for him to get in Doak Walker consideration. Outside chance, but I think AAC Player of the Year is probably within his sights.
We saw the season that Kevin Smith had, and he didn't even get close to any of those awards. I know we were in Conference USA at the time. It's a little bit different now. If he was to lead the country in rushing, he'd get some notice about it. But to win a Heisman or anything like that, I don't think there's any chance.
We began with Robert. Let's end with him at 2 letters, 2 words. Lovelady got tossed after getting fired up at Memphis. What non-baseball UCF coach, past or present, would you like to see get tossed after a heated complaint? I would love to have been in the gym and seeing Torchy Clark lose his mind on a call during his heyday.
Yeah, this is interesting because you don't see football coaches get tossed a lot. So I think GOL certainly would have been on the line a few times. I think Kruzek could have scared a couple of dudes because, he was wearing the schmediums. So I'm not so sure about that one. Give me Kirk Spearraw. I just find that out of character. I can't imagine him ever getting kicked out of a game. Give me Kirk Spearraw.
I was going to go obvious. George O'Leary, he let the refs hear it a bunch of times. Maybe he gets a little too close with the dip in his mouth. And he spit flies the wrong way, and he's out of there.
You know who got his money's worth in an argument, though, was Jay Bergman, baseball head coach.
Sure.
He would get rung, and it was something to watch. You guys, another great guest, episode 176 of the pod, Derek Hallman. That's not a name that folks may be as familiar with, but it was a good conversation.
Yeah, blast from the past. Definitely a good to catch up with Derek. He told some good stories. He lit up a teammate in practice. We'll let you figure who that was. I loved his first impression of Blake Bortles and what he told Blake when he first saw him throw the football. I think that's interesting. But his current career now is fascinating. He air traffic controller. So we got into that towards the end, which it was fascinating to kind of hear that his new career. So available wherever you get your quality podcast. And the non-quality ones too, I guess.
Yeah, part of a lot of big-time moments at UCF. First ever bowl win, opening of the stadium, and a very good career.
The Instagram has taken off, Adam. People signing up for the Instagram, the Sons of UCF. Did we get any looks or likes or whatever you call it on Instagram for our little post-show conversation? You ran a couple of minutes of that.
We got some, yeah. We got some views. We got a couple of comments, if you will. They can emoji back to you, Trace. I'll explain it to you later. We got a few of those for sure. So not sure if we're going to do that again this week or not. The production quality of me filming the screen with my phone.
Loved it. It was raw. It was real. Yeah. It was 3.5 minutes of excellence.
Well, again, now that we're sponsored by Gordon and Partners, you never know. Maybe we'll upgrade the post-show options available to us. Stay tuned. You never know. Mike's under the weather tonight too. I don't want to make Mike work extra long tonight. He's under the weather, so maybe not tonight.
You got to keep that for Suns Plus. Well, you guys actually have to send in money to see some of these things, right?
The paywall coming soon. We do want to thank Michael Hoffman, though, for partnering with us, and Nick Patty, of course, for stopping by and helping us preview the spring game, and of course, Stephen Branca for trying to get Adam to come out to baseball. Adam, we look forward to your decision on the next episode of the Suns Pod. And I want to thank you for joining us this Wednesday night. We will hope to see you next Thursday. We'll recap the spring game. I already talked with Jason Beatty of the Orlando Sentinel, and he's planning on stopping by and giving us his perspectives on the spring game and all of spring camp. So for Adam and Mike, I'm Trey Strelko. Go Knights, everyone.
Charge on.
Charge on.